If you've ever looked into someone's eyes with sincerity, given your time, your energy, your loyalty, only to watch them turn away when you needed them most, then this message is for you. The pain is not only that they betrayed you. The deeper wound is that you believed kindness would guarantee gratitude. But life does not work that way. The moment you expect a return for your goodness, you unknowingly place your peace in someone else's hands. Today, we will not ask why people betray us. We will ask why we give our power away by expecting them not to. Because true strength is not helping people so they will stay. True strength is helping because it reflects who you are, while having the wisdom to let go when they reveal who they are. There is a silent expectation that grows inside almost every act of kindness. Most people never notice it because it does not appear as a demand. It hides behind generosity, patience, loyalty, and sacrifice. You help someone because they are struggling. You stay beside them when everyone else walks away. You give your time, your money, your energy, or your attention without asking for anything in return. Deep inside your mind, however, a quiet voice begins to speak. It says, if I am here for them today, they will be here for me tomorrow. If I protect them, they will protect me. If I remain loyal, they will remain loyal. This expectation feels reasonable because it seems fair. But life has never promised fairness, and people have never promised to live according to your personal standards. The greatest disappointment rarely comes from the action itself. It comes from the story you created before the action even happened. You imagined a future where your kindness would be remembered forever. You believed your sacrifices would become permanent deposits in the hearts of others. You assumed your effort created an invisible debt that people would naturally repay. When they fail to repay it, you feel cheated. Not because you lost something material, but because reality refused to follow the script you had written in your own mind. Most suffering begins long before betrayal. It begins the moment expectation replaces acceptance. Acceptance says, I choose to help because this is who I am. Expectation says, I choose to help because I believe this person will become someone I can depend on. These two ideas may look similar from the outside, but internally they are completely different. One creates freedom, while the other quietly builds attachment. Think carefully about the moments that hurt you the most. Was it simply that someone left, or was it because you believed they never should have left after everything you had done for them? The emotional pain grows larger when reality collides with expectation. If you had expected nothing, their decision might still have disappointed you, but it would not have shattered your inner peace in the same way. Expectations multiply pain because they convince us that people owe us a version of themselves they never agreed to become. Many people confuse kindness with investment. They believe every good deed earns emotional interest. Every favor becomes a future favor waiting to be collected. Every sacrifice becomes proof that loyalty will eventually return. But human beings are not banks, and relationships are not guaranteed investments. Some people receive kindness with gratitude. Others receive it with comfort. Others receive it with entitlement. And some receive it without remembering it at all. This does not necessarily mean they are evil. It means they see the world through a different lens than you do. Your values are not universal laws. What feels unforgettable to you may feel ordinary to someone else. What you considered a life-changing sacrifice may have been interpreted by another person as something you simply wanted to do. Two people can experience the exact same event and leave with completely different memories of it. One of the hardest truths to accept is that your intentions belong to you, but other people's responses belong to them. You control why you give, but you cannot control how your gift is received. You may offer love and receive indifference. You may offer loyalty and receive distance. You may offer honesty and receive deception. None of these responses erase the value of your actions. They simply reveal that your expectations were trying to control something that has never been within your control. Expectation also changes the way we remember our own kindness. Instead of seeing generosity as an expression of character, we begin to treat it like evidence in a courtroom. We mentally collect every sacrifice we made. We remember every late-night phone call, every favor, every difficult conversation, every opportunity we gave someone, every moment we stood beside them. Then, when conflict arrives, we present all of this evidence to ourselves and wonder why the verdict feels so unfair. We ask, how could they do this after everything I did? But that question is built on the assumption that your kindness guaranteed a certain outcome. People often believe disappointment is proof that they care deeply. People often believe disappointment is proof that they care deeply. Sometimes it is. But often, disappointment is proof that expectation quietly became stronger than compassion. Compassion gives without controlling the result. Expectation gives while secretly negotiating with the future. The negotiation is silent, invisible, and often unconscious. Yet when life refuses to honor that negotiation, the emotional cost becomes enormous. There is another danger hidden inside expectation. It slowly hands your emotional well-being to other people. Your peace becomes dependent on whether they appreciate you enough. Your happiness depends on whether they remember your sacrifices. Your confidence depends on whether they remain loyal. Without realizing it, you have placed your emotional stability in the hands of individuals whose decisions, emotions, and priorities you cannot control. The more expectations you carry, the more power you surrender over your own peace. Many people spend years asking why others changed. A more useful question is whether they ever truly knew those people in the first place. Sometimes expectation fills the empty spaces where understanding should have existed. Instead of observing people as they are, we imagine who they will become because of how well we treat them. We believe kindness will transform character. We believe loyalty will inspire loyalty. We believe patience will create maturity. Sometimes it does. Many times it does not. Character is shaped by personal choices, not by the amount of goodness another person pours into someone's life. The moment you recognize this, your perspective begins to shift. You stop measuring your worth by the gratitude of others. You stop believing that every good deed must return with equal value. You stop expecting every relationship to mirror your standards. Instead of helping because you expect a future reward, you help because your actions reflect the person you choose to be, regardless of how others choose to respond. One of the hardest lessons in life is accepting that people do not act according to your kindness. They act according to their own nature, their values, their emotional maturity, and the habits they have built over years. Many people believe that if they treat someone with enough love, patience, honesty, and respect, that person will naturally respond in the same way. It sounds fair, it sounds logical, but human behavior has never followed the rules of fairness. People do not become a reflection of your character simply because you have shown them yours. Imagine planting a seed in different kinds of soil. You may use the same water, the same sunlight, and the same care, yet every plant grows differently because the condition of the soil is different. Kindness works in a similar way. You may offer the same compassion to two different people. One becomes deeply grateful and remembers your support for years. The other quickly forgets it, takes it for granted, or even uses your generosity against you. The difference is not in the kindness you gave. The difference is in the character of the person receiving it. This is where many people become confused. They assume that because they would never betray someone who helped them, everyone else must think the same way. They project their own values onto other people. They expect others to make decisions through the same moral compass they use every day. But every person carries a different set of beliefs, priorities, fears, and desires. What feels sacred to you may mean very little to someone else. Your kindness cannot rewrite another person's character. It cannot instantly create integrity where there is none. It cannot manufacture gratitude inside someone who believes the world owes them everything. It cannot teach loyalty to a person who has spent a lifetime choosing convenience over commitment. Character is built through personal choices repeated over many years. It is not borrowed from the people who treat us well. Many people stay in unhealthy relationships because they believe love will eventually change the other person. They think that if they become more patient, more forgiving, more understanding, or more supportive, the other person will finally appreciate them. Sometimes people do change, but lasting change happens because someone chooses it from within, not because another person sacrifices enough to force it into existence. There is also a dangerous belief that suffering for someone automatically earns their respect. People convince themselves that every sacrifice increases their value in another person's eyes. They stay awake solving someone else's problems. They forgive repeated mistakes. They ignore disrespect. They continue giving, even after receiving very little in return. They believe that one day the other person will suddenly realize everything they have done and become loyal forever. Unfortunately, people who lack gratitude rarely wake up with a transformed heart simply because someone continued sacrificing for them. In fact, excessive giving without boundaries often produces the opposite effect. Instead of increasing appreciation, it creates familiarity. What was once considered extraordinary slowly becomes expected. What began as generosity becomes routine. The person receiving your help may stop seeing it as a gift and start seeing it as your responsibility. Human nature easily adapts to comfort. When something is always available, many people stop recognizing its value. This does not mean you should stop being generous. It means you should stop believing generosity has the power to control another person's choices. You can influence people, inspire people, and support people, but you cannot replace their character with your own. Every individual remains responsible for the decisions they make, regardless of how well they have been treated. Sometimes people betray those who helped them, not because they forgot the kindness, but because their desires became stronger than their principles. Greed can overpower gratitude. Fear can overpower loyalty. Pride can overpower honesty. Convenience can overpower friendship. When these moments arrive, people reveal the values that truly guide their lives. They do not suddenly become different people. They simply reveal the parts of themselves that were always present beneath the surface. This realization can feel painful because it challenges the way many of us understand relationships. We want to believe that goodness naturally creates goodness. We want to believe that love guarantees love in return. We want to believe that sincere intentions protect us from disappointment. Yet history, experience, and everyday life repeatedly remind us that people respond according to who they are, not according to what we deserve. Think about the people you admire most. Their character is not defined by how others treated them. It is defined by the choices they continued making, regardless of how others behaved. In the same way, the people who disappoint you are also revealing themselves through their own choices. Their actions are reflections of their internal world, not measurements of your worth. When someone lies after receiving your honesty, they are displaying their relationship with truth. When someone betrays after receiving loyalty, they are revealing their relationship with commitment. When someone shows disrespect after receiving kindness, they are exposing their relationship with respect. Their actions describe them far more accurately than they describe you. The mistake many people make is personalizing everything. They immediately ask, "What did I do wrong?" Sometimes the answer is nothing. Sometimes you simply encountered someone whose values could not carry the weight of the kindness you offered. Not every heart has the capacity to honor sincerity. Not every mind recognizes sacrifice. Not every person measures relationships through the same principles you do. Learning this changes the way you observe people. Instead of assuming they will become who you hope they will be, you begin paying attention to who they consistently show themselves to be. You stop listening only to promises and begin watching patterns. You recognize that words are easy to produce. Emotions are temporary, but repeated actions reveal a person's true nature with remarkable clarity. Many people believe that helping someone creates an invisible agreement. They may never say it out loud, but deep inside, they expect that their kindness has formed a bond that guarantees loyalty, respect, or support in return. They begin to see every favor as part of an unwritten contract. I was there for you, so you should be there for me. I protected you, so you should protect me. I stood beside you when everyone else walked away, so you should never leave me. This way of thinking feels natural because human beings value fairness. Yet kindness is not a legal agreement, and compassion is not a business transaction. The moment you treat your generosity like a contract, disappointment becomes almost inevitable. Think about how contracts work in everyday life. Both parties clearly understand the terms. Each person agrees to certain responsibilities. If one side breaks the agreement, there are consequences. But when it comes to helping others, these conditions rarely exist. Most of the time, you never explain your expectations. The other person never signs anything. They never promise to repay every sacrifice you make. The agreement exists only inside your own mind. Later, when they fail to meet those unspoken expectations, you feel as though they have broken a promise they never actually made. This is why so many people carry hidden resentment. They spend years doing favors, solving problems, offering emotional support, lending money, sacrificing opportunities, and putting other people's needs ahead of their own. Outwardly, they appear generous and cheerful. Inwardly, they are quietly keeping score. Every act of kindness becomes another entry in an invisible ledger. They remember every birthday they attended, every crisis they helped solve, every difficult conversation they stayed through, every opportunity they gave up for someone else's benefit. They believe these acts are building credit that will one day be repaid. The problem begins when life asks for repayment. Suddenly the people they invested in are unavailable. Some are too busy. Some have moved on. Some have forgotten. Some simply choose not to help. At that moment, the invisible contract collapses because it was never shared by both people. The disappointment feels overwhelming, not only because support is missing, but because years of emotional accounting suddenly seem meaningless. Helping someone should never become a way of controlling their future behavior. True generosity cannot demand obedience. It cannot purchase loyalty. It cannot guarantee gratitude. If your kindness depends on receiving something back, then your motivation is no longer entirely about helping another person. Part of it has become an investment in a future outcome you cannot control. This does not mean expecting basic respect is wrong. Healthy relationships naturally involve mutual care and responsibility. The mistake lies in believing that every act of generosity automatically creates an obligation that another person must fulfill. Human beings remain free to make their own choices, even choices that disappoint you. Their freedom exists whether you approve of it or not. Many people unknowingly use kindness as a form of emotional negotiation. They believe that by giving enough, they can secure a place in someone's life. They become indispensable. They solve every problem before being asked. They constantly sacrifice their own needs. They believe this level of devotion makes abandonment impossible. Yet relationships built on usefulness are fragile. If someone values you only because of what you provide, the relationship may disappear the moment your usefulness changes. This is why people sometimes feel shocked after years of helping someone. They ask, after everything I did, how could they leave? The painful truth is that your actions may have been genuine, but they were never a guarantee. No amount of sacrifice can force another person to develop integrity. No amount of generosity can make someone grateful if gratitude is not already part of their role. Character. Another danger of treating kindness like a contract is that it slowly changes your heart. Instead of giving freely, You begin calculating. Every favor becomes an emotional investment. Every conversation becomes a silent expectation. You start measuring who has done more, who owes whom, who deserves your attention, and who has failed to repay your efforts. Without realizing it, generosity becomes heavy because it is constantly carrying the weight of future expectations. People often say they have been used. Sometimes that is absolutely true. There are individuals who knowingly take advantage of others without any intention of giving back. But there are also situations where both people entered the relationship with completely different assumptions. One person believed kindness was a gift. The other believed it created a lifelong obligation. When those expectations eventually collide, both sides leave feeling misunderstood. Helping others should come from a place of choice rather than emotional debt. When you choose to help because it reflects your values, your peace remains connected to your own actions rather than someone else's response. You recognize that your responsibility ends where another person's freedom begins. You can offer support, guidance, compassion, and opportunity, but you cannot demand that another person build their life according to the script you imagined. This perspective also allows you to help more wisely. Instead of giving endlessly to earn love or loyalty, you begin asking healthier questions. Is this person taking responsibility for their own life? Are they genuinely trying to improve? Are they respecting the support they receive? Are they showing appreciation through consistent actions rather than temporary words? These questions help you distinguish between helping someone grow and enabling someone to remain dependent. There is a profound difference between generosity and self-sacrifice without limits. Generosity gives because it chooses to. Self-sacrifice without boundaries often gives because it fears rejection, hopes for approval, or expects future repayment. One creates freedom, the other quietly builds resentment. The more you understand this difference, the less likely you are to confuse compassion with obligation. When kindness is offered as a free choice, it remains pure, regardless of the outcome. If the person appreciates it, that is a blessing. If they misuse it, their decision reflects their character, rather than diminishing yours. If they walk away, your actions still remain meaningful, because they were expressions of your principles, instead of attempts to purchase someone's pause, loyalty, or secure a promise that was never truly made. One of the greatest misconceptions about kindness is the belief that being compassionate means saying yes to everything. Many people grow up thinking that a good person is someone who never refuses a request, never disappoints anyone, never speaks up for themselves, and always puts other people's needs before their own. They confuse kindness with constant availability. They believe that if they set limits, they will appear selfish. If they protect their time, they will seem uncaring. If they walk away from unhealthy behavior, they will be judged as cold. This misunderstanding causes countless people to exhaust themselves while trying to prove that they have a good heart. Real compassion does not require the absence of boundaries. In fact, healthy boundaries are what allow compassion to survive. Without them, kindness slowly transforms into exhaustion. Every favor becomes expected. Every sacrifice becomes normal. Every act of generosity invites another request until you eventually realize that you have been taking care of everyone except yourself. Imagine a river that provides water to an entire village. If the source of that river is protected, it continues flowing year after year. But if the source is constantly drained without care, the river eventually dries up. Human energy works the same way. You cannot continuously pour into other people's lives while ignoring your own emotional, physical, and mental well-being. Eventually, even the kindest person becomes overwhelmed, frustrated, and emotionally empty. Many people fear boundaries because they believe boundaries push people away. In reality, healthy boundaries reveal who truly respects you. When you begin saying no to unreasonable demands, some people will understand immediately. Others will become upset. Their reaction often tells you more about the relationship than your decision itself. Someone who genuinely cares about you may feel disappointed, but they will still respect your limits. Someone who only values what they can receive from you may become angry because your boundaries interfere with their convenience. This is why boundaries often expose hidden motives. As long as you continue giving endlessly, everyone appears supportive. Everyone praises your generosity. Everyone enjoys your presence. But the moment you stop solving every problem, lending every resource, or sacrificing every hour of your day, certain relationships begin to change. The people who appreciated you for who you are remain. The people who depended only on what you provided often begin to disappear. There is nothing unkind about protecting your peace. You cannot rescue every person who asks for help. You cannot solve every crisis. You cannot carry every emotional burden placed on your shoulders. Trying to do so does not make you stronger. It often makes you less effective, because constant emotional overload reduces your ability to make wise decisions. Some people become addicted to being needed. Their identity depends on fixing other people's lives. They feel valuable only when someone depends on them. As a result, they ignore their own needs while constantly searching for another problem to solve. This pattern may look generous from the outside, but internally, it is driven by fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of being forgotten. Fear of losing significance. Boundaries challenge this fear by teaching that your worth does not depend on how many people rely on you. Compassion without wisdom can easily become enabling. There is a difference between helping someone stand on their own feet and carrying them forever. If every difficulty is solved for them, they never develop resilience. If every consequence is removed, they never learn responsibility. Sometimes the most compassionate response is not giving another solution, but allowing someone to face the results of their own choices. Many people struggle with guilt whenever they establish boundaries. They think, what if they think I've changed? What if they stop liking me? What if they call me selfish? These fears are understandable because human beings naturally seek acceptance. But constantly abandoning yourself to maintain approval creates a life where everyone else feels comfortable except you. A healthy boundary is not punishment, it is clarity. It communicates what you can give, what you cannot give, and what behavior you are willing to accept. It is not about controlling other people. It is about taking responsibility for your own life. You cannot decide how others behave, but you can decide what access they have to your time, your energy, and your emotional space. People often misunderstand kindness because they focus only on giving. They forget that respect must also exist. A relationship where one person continually sacrifices while the other continually receives is not balanced. Over time, this imbalance creates resentment. The giver begins feeling unappreciated. The receiver begins taking the generosity for granted. Neither person benefits from this dynamic. Boundaries also protect the sincerity of your kindness. When you give freely rather than out of pressure, your generosity becomes more meaningful. You help because you genuinely choose to, not because you fear criticism or rejection. Your actions become expressions of freedom rather than obligations forced by guilt. There will always be people who dislike your boundaries because your limits prevent them from getting what they want. They may accuse you of changing. They may question your character. They may remind you of everything you used to do for them. But kindness is not measured by how much of yourself you are willing to lose. It is measured by the integrity with which you treat both yourself and others. Learning to say no is not the opposite of compassion. Sometimes it is compassion directed toward yourself. It allows you to preserve the energy needed to continue helping where your support can truly make a difference. It protects your peace from being controlled by endless demands. It reminds you that your value is not determined by your availability, but by your character. When your compassion is supported by healthy boundaries, you stop helping out of fear and begin helping out of purpose. You become generous without becoming exhausted. You become caring without becoming easily manipulated. You become available without becoming permanently responsible for other people's choices. You understand that protecting your own well-being is not a betrayal of kindness, but one of the conditions that allows genuine kindness to continue existing. Betrayal has a unique way of changing how we see the world. In a single moment, trust can be replaced by doubt, confidence by confusion, and peace by endless questions. Most people immediately ask, "Why did this happen to me?" They search for hidden mistakes, replay old conversations, and analyze every decision they made. They wonder if they trusted too much, loved too deeply, or gave more than they should have. While these questions are natural, they often distract us from the most important truth. Betrayal does not only reveal the character of the person who committed it, it also reveals the character of the person who experiences it. When someone lies after receiving your honesty, they reveal their relationship with truth. When someone deceives after receiving your trust, they reveal how they value integrity. When someone abandons you after benefiting from your support, they reveal what loyalty means to them. Their actions become a mirror reflecting their own values, not yours. Too often, people mistakenly accept another person's betrayal as proof that they themselves were not enough. They begin questioning their worth instead of recognizing that another person's choices are expressions of that person's character. Imagine giving someone a priceless crystal. You hand it to them with care, believing they will treasure it. Instead, they throw it to the ground without hesitation. Does the value of the crystal disappear because someone treated it carelessly? Of course not. The careless action tells you something about the person holding the crystal, not about the crystal itself. Human relationships follow a similar principle. Someone else's inability to value loyalty does not reduce the value of your loyalty. One of the greatest mistakes people make after betrayal is allowing another person's behavior to redefine who they are. A generous person becomes suspicious of everyone. A loving person becomes emotionally distant. An honest person begins expecting deception from every relationship. The betrayal changes not only their memories, but also their identity. They unconsciously allow one person's poor character to reshape their own way of living. This is exactly how betrayal continues hurting us, long after the event itself. The original action may have lasted only a few minutes, but its influence remains because we keep carrying it into every new relationship. We stop trusting people who have done nothing wrong. We build walls around ourselves because someone else chose dishonesty. In trying to protect ourselves from future pain, we sometimes imprison the very qualities that once made us strong. There is a profound difference between becoming wiser and becoming bitter. Wisdom learns from experience without losing compassion. Bitterness allows past pain to poison every future opportunity. Wisdom says, "I will observe more carefully before trusting." Bitterness says, "No one deserves my trust again." Wisdom develops discernment. Bitterness develops isolation. Betrayal also reveals something about your